Well, it's still December 17, 2019. 92% of Americans feel their freedom is threatened. That is jolly good of you Americans to finally get it. Now, 92%? I don't know. I don't know if that's correct. But hey, let's go with it. 92% of Americans feel their freedom is threatened. Of that 92%, what's the percentage of those who will actually fight for their freedom? 3%? I'm reminded of a comment. Oh, can't remember it verbatim. And that's the important part because, well, it carried this kind of punchy impact. You know, when we talk about the 3%, now, and 3% of the population that fought the revolution and, yeah, hey, got that United States of America started with that Constitution, that actually afforded a whole lot to the people. If, well, what did that guy say? Ben Franklin? When he supposedly was asked by somebody, well, what kind of government did you form for us? And he said, a republic, ma'am, if you can keep it. That takes a mature, responsible people to keep it, to fight for it. I don't think, well, he said, you know, the 3%. Said, I don't think it's that it only takes 3%. I think it's more that we only have 3%. Right. It's only 3% that would actually fight for their freedom. But those 3% were all scattered about. And yeah, of that 3%, there's a huge number of, well, those who won't fight, and those who will fight one another. Now, this coming after nearly 2 decades after 2001, 9/11, when it became obvious that something was very wrong. And each year we got more and more in our face. Our freedoms are, hey, wait a second, they're being taken away. Oh, but we now have security. Really? Do you feel secure, Americans? You shouldn't. So a large percentage feel that their First Amendment rights could be taken away. Well, your First Amendment rights, a lot of them have already been taken away. Have you noticed that if you say anything on social media that could be perceived as hate speech, you're going to get in trouble? Oh, but those are private companies, Carol. No, they are not. They are government. And they are taking away your rights. Oh, they put up that, you know, Zuckerberg face and the Schmidt face and, oh, they're private companies. But no, they are an arm of the government. And if you did a little bit of research, you would find that out. And I've posted too many videos on this, so I'm not going to get into it. Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. Did you know that they have intelligence agents working in virtually every social media company? Military intelligence, Why are they there? All right. Freedom of speech, 48%. The right to bear arms, 47%. The right to equal justice, 41%. Freedom of expression, 37%. Freedom of religion, 35%. But this is the freest country in the world. So why is it that so many Americans feel their freedoms are being taken away? Because they are. Let me just show you. Here. Most Americans believe they are being tracked by corporations and the government. Understand this, for many decades, certainly, well, I noticed it in the early 80s. We were corporate America. Fascism. When corporations and government merged together, as it was obvious in the 80s, that's a fascist country. That's a fascist government. Now, it's so obvious. So, you don't live in that freest country in the world. You live in a fascist country, corporate America. And corporations have taken over. And this supposed government that we have uses corporations, social media, to track you, surveil you, and take away your rights. Are Americans starting to recognize this surveillance state? Are you? Do you recognize it? You really should. A strong majority of Americans believe they are being spied upon and tracked by private companies and the government on a regular basis. Well, that's good, because you are. But who will fight against this? Very, very few. Amnesty International came out and said surveillance-based Google, Facebook threaten human rights. Why? Because they skew their social media platforms and that search engine to favor the information that they want you to have rather than the information that you're seeking. Is that an okay practice? Well, their private companies know they are not. So they do an awful lot of that censorship that if government was doing it, well, then it would be obvious that that's wrong, Mr. and Mrs. Government. It's wrong to do. But a private company can do it. So, hey, we government officials are smart. We're going to create these social media platforms, give it a private company face, and censor information. We just ain't going to tell the American people. And hell, the American people, well, they'll believe anything. Amazon Ring doorbell camera to build watch list of suspicious neighbors for police. Is Amazon one of those private companies? Or are they very tied to government and law enforcement? Yeah. So Amazon does what government can't do. But Amazon/government is building a watch list with their Ring doorbell. Amazon and Google use secret police deals and freebies to spy on everyone. They give police departments across the country these Ring doorbells to create mini neighborhood surveillance zones. Free of charge. Why would Amazon give law enforcement free of charge Ring doorbells? Because it's government. And we do live in a surveillance state, and you don't live in that free country. And you're going to feel that freedom being taken away from you, I believe, next year. You're going to feel it. You're not just going to think it. You're going to know it. But this has been going on for a very, very long time. Smart faucets and toilets. Use Alexa to listen to your conversations. And I guess listen to something else. New home Amazon Experience Centers are really Amazon home surveillance centers. Kone to put facial recognition and Alexa listening devices in elevators. Wow, that Alexa, she sure does get around. Company allows tax collectors to secretly look for home improvements and Airbnbs. Don't think you can get away with anything. Trust a corporation to turn property tax collectors into property owner surveillance operatives. Oh, yeah. Well, it's unfortunate, but there's an awful lot of Americans spying on Americans. Hell, if I can make a buck, I'm gonna do it. Distracted driver cameras to spread across North America. Oh, you looking at that cell phone of yours while driving? Well, you shouldn't be, but distracted, will it only be for cell phones? I can't remember where, but there was actually, I think it was California. It must have been California. Eating while driving was an offense, traffic violation. Drinking coffee distracts. Hell, talking to someone that's in the car is a distraction. So, where does this stop? Massive 30-state real-time database revealed. What? Yeah. Automatic license plate readers, much worse than you could have imagined. Any state or local law enforcement agency participating in RPSN, which is the RECO Public Safety Network, which gives law enforcement real-time access to license plates, will be able to access real-time data from any part of the network at no cost. They're spying on you without a warrant. Without a warrant. It's free. Oh my God, another company giving law enforcement free stuff. Well, yeah, Americans sure do like their free stuff. 2 months ago, I warned everyone that police in Arizona were using ALPR, automatic license plate readers, to grid entire neighborhoods. All right, well, genetic genealogy company GEDmatch, acquired by company with ties to FBI and law enforcement. Why you should be worried. Do you want the FBI and law enforcement to have your genetic code, your DNA? Of course not. That's not a free country. How about the FBI? teaming up with the post office to get your fingerprints. Is it feeling kind of like you're not living in the good old US of A? Grade school kids to be given social, emotional, mindset assessments. Parents, don't you want to fight for your kids' freedom? You know, that stuff that you enjoyed? Don't you want to preserve it for your kids? National Assessment of Educational Progress is planning on assessing students' social and emotional mindsets like grit, desire for learning, school climate. Data, data, data. And what are they going to do with all of that data? Well, eventually you'll find out. Well, if that assessment turns out to be the kind of assessment that the powers that be don't want, that kid is in for trouble as he grows up. Let's see, what else? 14 billion police license plate database knows where you are in real-time update. I will link below to all of this if you want to check them out. Go ahead, read the details, but we all know what's happening. We all know that every single day our privacy gets more and more eroded. Our freedoms are getting more and more eroded. The tyrannical US of A is already here to stay. It's only cementing its foothold on Americans. School districts use Gaggle to monitor students' free speech and social media posts. Oh, a whole lot of schools are monitoring students on I'm sorry. Shoot. I'm listening to coyotes that obviously gotta kill. Don't know if you can hear it. Oh, and I hope to God it was not one of the cats. I don't want it to be any other animal, but all right, I'm sorry. Yeah, schools are monitoring your kids, American parents that have kids in school. The Safe Drivers Act is a real-time national driver surveillance program. Half of all Americans are in a police facial recognition database. Facebook. What was the real purpose of Facebook? Put your face in there. I think it's probably more than half. Yep. Betrayed district attorneys are running advanced public surveillance networks. They're all doing it, man. Wow. Soon doctors will screen everyone for drugs. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force want doctors to screen everyone for drug use. Big Brother really wants to know if you are using illegal street drugs or prescription drugs, and they have given doctors numerous drug screening tools to find out. It's already happening to welfare applicants in at least 15 states. See, you deprive one person of their freedom, it's eventually going to catch up to everyone. And I say that only because a whole lot of people will say, good, those welfare people are on drugs and they should be screened. I love Americans. Secret deep state demands. Yes, the FBI wants your consumer credit data. They want your DNA. They want everything. Your fingerprints, your credit data. Secret Service wants schools to report more weirdos. Yep. Secret Service. More intrusive surveillance in school and online. It's not just teachers and administrators monitoring kids in school, what they're doing on the internet. It's law enforcement, Secret Service, anyone depressed or anxious. The report says that schools should monitor any students in distress, including their social media profiles. Schools should randomly search desks and lockers and encourage students to report any of their peers for practically any reason whatsoever. Now, you'd like to think it was only kids, that have that kind of behavior where, well, let's say if they feel slighted or want to, take revenge or bully somebody. How easy it is for these kids to report another student. But adults do that. So, defiance, misconduct, ADD, being bullied, or a recent breakup could be predictors of future violence. Oh, so they're not monitoring the bullies, those who are being bullied. All of the 35 attackers, 100% in this study, experienced at least one social stressor. See, it wasn't only for gun control, those school shootings. Yes, many of which were staged. But it was also to bring about, this, which is 24/7 surveillance of these kids. This is not the America, the United States that I grew up in, that the baby boomers grew up in, that the Gen X's grew up in. And it is an abject disgrace that adults have done nothing to stop this. Do I mean every adult? No, I do mean most. I do mean most. But I think another 100% was that these shooters were also on psychiatric medication that induces homicidal ideation. But we're not going to talk about that. Right, okay. The takeaway, anyone could be a school shooter. So all students should be eyed with suspicion, closely watched, and encouraged to inform on fellow students' slightest transgressions. Obvious root cause of school violence, student depression, and student suicide is restriction. The restriction they feel in their daily lives. So, coercion, the use of physical, legal, chemical, psychological, financial, and other forces to gain compliance is intrinsic in our society's employment, schooling, parenting. Coercion results in fear and resentment, which are fuels for miserable marriages, unhappy families, mental illness. The more freedom an individual has, the happier and more content they are. The more, that boot on one's face, the more angry, resentful, miserable they are. But to those who want that tyranny, well, they don't care. And it's not about creating a country where there's no violence and everybody's just a happy, lucky, hey. No. It's about creating slaves and controlling every aspect of one's life and dictating how they will live, how they will behave, who they will associate with. All of this is coming. Citizen patrols can identify hardcore criminals just by looking at them. Wow. Aren't they marvelous? Citizen patrols. Do you have one in your community? I know there's a community in Anderson that has them. Americans spying on Americans. iPhone 11. It has a great feature you can't opt out of, tracking you everywhere. Well, Bloomberg, come on. You've got what, $54 billion? You're going to ask for $1.99? Netflix is, I haven't seen anything recently, but this was an article last week. Netflix going fingerprints instead of password. Gun owners, beware. Facebook using photos to keep track of your weapons. A world with 1 billion cameras watching you is just around the corner. Yeah, the world. This ain't just happening in the US of A. It's happening all over the world. And you know what? China, of all countries, is creating that facial recognition tech for the United Nations. And is there any other country that has the kind of surveillance that China has? Welcome to America. All right, I'll link below to all of these. The latest and greatest of our surveillance state. Nothing has gotten better since Trump. Everything has gotten worse. You guys who are counting on your government official to make things right, I'd say give it up. Give it up. The only ones who can make things right are the Americans themselves. And if they don't stand up, that freedom that they feel threatened, oh my God, I just feel like, corporate and government, they're watching us. Are they spying on us? Or are they taking away our freedoms? Okay, Americans, you're at the end stage. This has been going on for many decades, incrementally, but the recent years, it has been wow in your face. So, well, you better wake up. You better not sleep. because all of this, I think 2020 is just going to be a very big, explosive year. And people are going to really start to feel the tyranny that is and has been already established here, only cementing itself. And I can't help but think the older generations, yeah, the okay boomer, they have a point. They have a point. We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything but watch our own behind and play out our own lives, the self-centeredness, and so many just wanted to be happy and rich. Well, I understand the okay boomer, because we are leaving them a world that is just very dark. And I keep thinking about the opportunities that I had when I was, in my early 20s, and there was so much. And just living life and speaking freely and never worrying about anything. That's not the world that these guys are growing up in. They don't deserve it. All links are below.